John Mozeliak speaks out on the pitching problems and specifically about Adam Wainwright, who was ineffective once again on Tuesday. This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow me on Twitter at JD Sports Radio and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, and many other places, including YouTube. Find us there and like, subscribe, and comment. That way you're interacting with us. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. And the comments on YouTube are very, very helpful right now because of all of the weird things that are going on with Twitter, which was normally a way that you could get a hold of the show and a hold of me whenever you wanted. But now YouTube is kind of taking over that area with the restrictions and stuff on Twitter. Very weird stuff going on there. But anyway, moving on. Happy 4th of July to each and every one of you. Hope you're enjoying your Independence Day despite what you may have seen on the tube today or listened to on the radio today as the Cardinals, ugly one today in Miami. After taking 2 of 3 from the Yankees this past weekend, the Cardinals have now lost the first 2 games in their 4-game set against the Marlins. The line dancing that is the Cardinals season continues to do-si-do around the league. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I'm not much of a dancer, but I know I'm not singing opposites attract from Paula Abdul there. That's not what I'm trying to do, but that's the way it's been this year. Every time that the Cardinals do something positive for a couple of games, they immediately go backwards. They do some good things, gain a little ground and some momentum, and then they just give it right back over the next few games. You have that blown save and 1-run loss on Monday again, because that's just been the story of the year. And that was crushing, obviously. And then today's 4th of July blasting has us all back down in the dumps again and thinking sell, sell, sell at the trade deadline. At least me. Ever since that San Francisco game, it's been sell, sell, sell for me. Had someone ask me on Twitter, actually, whether I still get mad about these games and about these guys. The answer is no. I don't get mad about it anymore. My last ounce of aggression got released when they got swept by the Giants and blew that 3-run lead in the 9th inning. That was it. That was the nail in the coffin for my anger and my optimism for what's going to happen the rest of this year. Now I just want to get to the trade deadline because that's about all the excitement left for the team this season in my eyes, because I see what they do. And it's just back and forth, and you're never going to gain ground on anybody, especially a team like the Reds or the Brewers who continue to win. If you play 500 ball, it's just not going to work. And I personally, I'm more curious and more excited about how they plan to move forward to fix this team after crashing and burning here in 2023. So the pitching obviously is something that's been a major, major problem. In my opinion, it's the root of all these problems for the team this year. It all starts there. It ends there. You know, if 2/3 of your team, you got offense, you've got starting pitching, and you got a bullpen, and if 2 of them don't work very well, you're going to have a problem, and that's what's going on here. And let's discuss the words recently said by Cardinals president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak. He did an interview on Sunday with KMOX, and he discussed the Cardinals pitching staff and spoke specifically about Adam Wainwright as well, which we've got an update on him after today's game, some injury news with Adam Wainwright. We all know the starting pitching has not been what they'd hoped it would be, right? Going into the season, many of us actively and vehemently pointed out that it was going to be an issue. When we did the preview of the NL Central here at Locked On, they asked me, what's the one thing you're concerned about? I said, pitching. Pitching is not good enough on this team. And they're hoping that guys that are coming back are going to be better than they were before. And it hasn't worked out whatsoever. And a lot of us knew that was going to be the problem, yet Mo did nothing. He stuck with those guys, and he couldn't have been more wrong by doing that. Like, it was a huge mistake. It's been a bad and inconsistent group of pitchers all year. Not just the starting rotation and the bullpen, too. It's all been real bad. Miles Michaelis, not good in April, has an outstanding May. Then he struggles again in June and was not very good in his first start in July yesterday. Jordan Montgomery, a decent April, struggled mightily in May, then has an awesome June and just had a stellar first start in the month of July. He's been the best pitcher and most consistent guy we've had, yet in May, he was terrible. Jack Flaherty has been up and down with his starts all year. He looked fantastic on Saturday against the Yankees, but his 2 previous starts before that game, he gives up 6 earned runs in each of them. So 12 total runs in just 10 2/3 innings, and then he throws a shutout. Like, it's weird how they just up and down. It's a roller coaster. Steven Matz, huge disappointment as a starter, has done okay, I guess, out of the bullpen, but that's not why you signed him to a 4-year, $44 million contract. So he's a huge disappointment. Adam Wainwright, a shell of his former self, got ripped to shreds again today. Again, I will have an update on what's going on with him injury-wise. Matthew Liberatore going through growing pains at the major league level, which it happens, you know? I mean, you get up there, not everybody just comes up and is lights out like Spencer Strider with the Braves. That's not really normal, but he's going through those growing pains right now. Sending him down to Memphis isn't going to make him any better. He's got to pitch at the major league level. Dakota Hudson got beat out in spring training by Jake Woodford, and then Woodford wasn't very good when he got starts while Adam Wainwright was injured. Hudson hasn't gotten any better down in Memphis. It's just been a mess. The starting rotation has been an absolute disaster since day one of the season against the Blue Jays. They've been awful. And the bullpen hasn't been all that great either. In fact, they've let's just be honest, they've sucked. Okay, the bullpen's not good. Most blown saves in baseball was 17 after Andre Palante coughed up another lead on Monday night. Palante, Gallegos, and Helsley each have 4 blown saves. Each have 4 blown saves, which ties them for third most among all Major League Baseball relievers. You've got 3 dudes who are in the top 3 of most blown saves. That's a problem. So when people complain and moan about the job that Ali Marmol has done this year, which you have every right to do. I mean, he's made plenty of mistakes as well. He's not innocent about anything here, but you look at what Mo gave him to work with, and then you start thinking about who should really be blamed for how bad their record is this year. I mean, Mo put these guys together and then expected Ali to make chicken salad out of chicken poop. Now, here's some of Mo's comments from the interview on Sunday. I do think that some of the decisions we made, some of the guys we were trying to give opportunities to, it just hasn't worked. It's very fair to say we should have done more and could have done more. And hopefully you learn from that. You mean hopefully you've learned from that, right, Mo? Like, why is everybody being brought in because of your mistakes? I mean, you assembled this group. This is your fault. Perhaps he's including the scouts and the coaches who may have provided some input on the guys they decided to keep or decided not to go after. But in the end, Mo made the choice to use this particular group of pitchers and this group of just players in general. And I guess he's at least starting to admit a little bit of blame and failure there. You know, for the most part, he's still been like, well, you know, we still got some time. And he says it in this interview too. He says, well, there's still a lot of baseball to be played. Stop. It's not early. And yeah, we've still got another half of the season to play. But at the same time, what and where has this rotation or bullpen shown you that they're all of a sudden going to snap out of this and become elite and start winning 7, 8 in a row to get back in this thing? They haven't. I really just want them to quit beating around the bush and just be honest and say something like, hey, I made a mistake in certain choices that I made, and will do everything in my power to rectify this situation. This is my fault, and I'll take full responsibility for it. I want to hear something like that out of Mo, because he's always dodging it. He's always dodging it as if it wasn't really his fault, and it's kind of everybody's fault, and we all kind of, you know, screwed up together. I'm sorry, but I'm putting more of the blame on you, because a lot of us saw the issues that this Cardinals team had coming into the year, and he didn't do anything about it. So I put that blame on you, man. Will we ever hear him say something like that? Probably not. But in my opinion, it would just be nice. Just admit when you're wrong. Just say it. And say it, after the trade deadline, which again, we're leaning towards selling more than doing anything else, right? Like, I mean, you look at this team and why do you think that they're going to get any better? So you might as well get some stuff for the assets that you have that people do want. And the funny and ironic thing about it is the biggest pieces that the Cardinals have to offer at the trade deadline just so happens to be pitchers, yet they need pitching. It's weird. It's such a conundrum. And if he does end up selling pieces, he cannot screw this up. He just can't, or this team will continue to sink like a lead balloon in the National League. Now, on Adam Wainwright's demise, which he had another awful day today in Miami, Mo said, quote, "I think we have to see some adjustments on his end being made. Otherwise, maybe we will have to make some changes on how we go through things." What I take from that statement is that they won't be afraid to remove him from the rotation if it continues. But now they're saying he's going to the IL. So was he hurt this whole time? Boy, oh boy, did it continue today, his bad pitching. And it got real ugly even after Waino came out of the game. So we're going to talk about today's game. We'll kind of reminisce a little bit about Monday as well. That's all coming up here on Locked On Cardinals. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 that you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. I mean, another rough day for Adam Wainwright. Like I said, it looks like he's going to the IL, but perhaps we should all start betting on the offense of the other teams when, some of these Cardinals pitchers are going to throw against them that frankly aren't very good right now. So, maybe you can make some money that way until if or when they turn things around, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But hey, if you can make money off of it, more power to you. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. The Cardinals are in Miami to face the Marlins, and they're going to be there for the next couple of days. And you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Again, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Always appreciate the tweets, the comments from all of you. In our episode about Adam Wainwright last week, we had kind of a split crowd on what people wanted to do with him moving forward. Now, personally, my stand was I voted to stick with him for a couple more starts. That his history with the team, everything he's done for this franchise, his ability to come back from injuries and slumps has earned him the right to try to work through whatever it is that he's going through right now. And we're starting to get a little more clarity of what's going on with him. So that was just my stand. I just feel like, you know what? I feel like we owe it to him to go ahead and let him get a couple more starts in here to see if he can fix it. And if he can't, then we move on. David says, you're exactly right about Waino. I agree with you 100%. I understand he's getting up in age, and I know he isn't as good as he was, but he's been the backbone of the rotation. Mo Pack Fan 1 says, I hate seeing Waino go through this. I wish he would have retired with Yachty and Albert last year, but you've got to think he's going to figure this out before the end of the season. And then on the other side, you've got people like Beck 170 who said he's not even a 4 or a 5. He's essentially worthless this year. He hurts the team. Also, he probably had spider tack in the WBC because they weren't checking like the MLB. Love Waino. I'm just mad he didn't leave with Yachty and Pujols like he should have. His positive attitude can only take him so far. His body is done. And then Robert says, remember when Muhammad Ali was at the end and he went for one more fight with Larry Holmes? Holmes apologized to him all night because he hated seeing Ali go out with the beating he was getting. That was said to have gave him Parkinson's later in life. Last night, this is him talking about the Houston game, was what that felt like. And again, I don't hold any ill will against anybody who thinks that Adam Wainwright is toast and that he shouldn't pitch anymore. That's your right. You can feel that way. It's really okay. I just felt like he had earned the right to start a couple of more times to try and get out of whatever this funk is. And I said after Adam's bad start against Houston that I would give him one more start before the All-Star break, which was today, and then one more after. And if it's still as bad as it has been, then it was time to make a move because you can't keep putting him out there. It's embarrassing to him. It's embarrassing for the team. You basically are giving up a game every single time. Whether or not this team can come back and make a run in the second half, I have my doubts, obviously. But if you're going to, you can't just give up a game every fifth day by throwing somebody else out there that is just not getting it done. So you got one game down. He's got one more chance, at least in my eyes, and then something's got to be done. Well, today he showed no signs of improvement again. His final line today, 3 1/3 innings, 7 runs, 4 of them earned on 7 hits. 2 of those were home runs with 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Now after the game, Ollie said, and this guy, very interesting that we got these comments after the game today. He's pitching through several things. Our hope was that it was better today, but it wasn't. And that he's likely going to the IL with a shoulder issue. We're talking about shoulder inflammation. So that's very interesting. So this whole time he's been hurt, or is it one of those, injuries that he's going to go to the IL that they just come up with? I find it hard to believe that Adam Wainwright would go on the injured list if he wasn't actually dealing with something in his shoulder. Adam, after the game, said that he has every full intention to be back, to be healthy and try to help this team win. Will we see it? I hope so. I wouldn't bet against him, but it now eliminates the personal torment that's going on where we're all watching Adam and he's getting creamed and we hate it. We can't stomach it. We don't want to toss him to the side because he's Adam Wainwright, but at the same time, he's a terrible pitcher right now. He's just getting bombed every time he goes out there. Like today, the Cardinals were down 3-0 after the first inning. What else is new? It doesn't even matter if it's Wainwright. Everybody falls behind in the first inning except for Montgomery. And even Montgomery falls behind a lot. But they just get obliterated by the Marlins today, 15-2. Jesus Luzardo, a guy that we talked about on this show in the offseason, that I thought that's the guy the Cardinals should trade for instead of Pablo Lopez. He was one of the guys that I listed where I'm like, I don't love Lopez, but Jesus Luzardo is a guy I would look at. Goes out today, throws 6 innings of shutout ball, allows just 5 hits, punches out 8 to move to 7-5 on the season. It was a blowout the whole game. The Marlins offense, relentless, 15 runs on 19 hits. Jojo Romero came into this game. Yeah, he's back on the team after Verhagen went to the IL. He comes in with the bases loaded to try to stop the bleeding. I believe it was 4-0 at the time. They pull Wainwright, Tapper back to him. Going to be a play at the plate that he, it's slow, but it kind of short hops him and he bumbles it and everyone is safe. It's an error. And that led to the final 3 runs on Wainwright's line that were unearned. So 7 runs on Wainwright, but 4 of them earned. But still, that's what happens to bad teams. They don't get out of those situations. They fumble a grounder back to the pitcher. Outside of that inning, though, JoJo wasn't bad. He wasn't awful. Genesis Cabrera comes in a little wild, but Cabby's always a little bit wild. Had a shutout inning. Cool, but James Naile comes into the game today. Yeah, he's back on the team, too, after being recalled on June 30th following Woodford's placement on the IL for a shoulder strain. And James Naile got nailed today in Miami. The Marlins just light him up. 8 runs, 7 hits in an inning and a third. His ERA is now over 11 or something. We had to see Alec Burleson pitch again today. Lowered his ERA to 21.60, though. Attaboy Burley doesn't allow any runs. 2/3 of an inning, gives up a couple hits, but none of them crossed the plate. But just an absolute walloping after the loss on Monday, which was a real stinger considering that the Cardinals fell behind in the first inning again. Miles Michael is talking about, I was calling the pitches of the first inning and then I stopped because I'm not good at it. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? But he falls behind 2-0. Cardinals fight back. They punch back, right? To take the lead 4-2, just to see the bullpen give it up again. 3 in the 7th inning. They lose another 1-run game, 5-4. And those games are the real kick in the beanbag, right? Those hurt worse than these 15-2 drubbings that they took today. The Cardinals now have an 8-17 record in one-run games this year. Good teams normally find ways to win those games, and bad teams lose them. The Marlins are now 20-5 in one-run games. The Reds, talking about division guys, are 19-15 in one-run games. Brewers are 14-5. The outlier, when I looked all these up, was the Rangers, who are 5-12 in one-run games, but still 50-35 on the year because they usually just crush people with that sick offense that they got in Texas. They're still tops in the AL West right now. So it's bad, man. It is just bad. And I just don't see a lot of hope moving forward this year. Like kudos to you if you're still optimistic. I just cannot get on board with it right now. So I'm anticipating at least hopefully a fun trade deadline where we can start thinking about the future and how to get back to where the Cardinals need to be. The series with the Marlins, it's not done, though. It's half over. That's 4-game set. Can the Cardinals resurrect themselves in the final 2 games? Well, we'll find out. We're going to preview tomorrow's game next on Locked On Cardinals. The Cardinals will be in Miami against the Marlins again tomorrow. You can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. So here's what we learned from today's game afterwards. Injury-wise, Adam Wainwright's going to the IL, shoulder issue, what was he? I said it earlier. Shoulder inflammation is the word I'm looking for. So that's what he's dealing with. And Andrew Knizner, this one a little bit scary because he left the game after a foul ball caught him. We thought it hit him in his manhood, right? And now they're saying it was in the midsection area, and he had to go to the local ER to get looked at. So at the time of this recording, I haven't seen an update yet on his condition, but you hope for good things from Andrew Knizner. We all like him. So hopefully it's not as serious as, going to the ER sounds like it might be. But the wounded continue to pile up. Just talked about Woodford, Verhagen. Now Wainwright's going to the IL. The season's getting more and more lost. They're now a season high 11.5 games back in the division. The Reds are not losing. The Brewers continue to win. And some people remarkably are staying optimistic. They're remaining optimistic about this team. And then others are making fun of those people who are remaining optimistic. I'm not going to make fun of you, but they've got 50 losses in 85 games. They didn't reach 50 until August 11th last year. Their 111th game is when they lost their 50th game last year, and we're already there in 85 games. And I just don't see any signs of them getting better. They're back on the field tomorrow. The Cardinals haven't announced a starter yet at the time of this recording, but the Marlins will have 26-year-old right-hander Brian Hoeing on the mound. With him being a righty, I'd suspect you'll see the return of Brendan Donovan, another injured guy who's playing through it, dealing with some right arm issues. Nolan Gorman should be back in the lineup. Hoeing is 1-2 on the year, but has only made 5 starts and 19 appearances. So if this is going to be a bullpen game, Cardinals usually stink in bullpen games. And they stink against guys they've never faced before. So that's a double whammy. That doesn't bode well for what's going to happen tomorrow. But the way things are going, watch them prove me wrong and come out and have a solid offensive game just to screw with us. That's kind of the season it's been. We'll try to pull that reverse jinx on them and say, you have no chance, Cardinals. You're going to blow it, and you're not going to be good against this guy because you haven't seen him, and it's a bullpen game. Hopefully we'll reverse jinx things. But first pitch tomorrow night going to be at 5:40 St. Louis time. So thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Be sure to catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast for tomorrow's game against the Marlins with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Again, happy 4th of July to all of you. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.